what's that meme online where they woke up this morning and chose violence or something like that? I don't know. Things like that.
That's right.
Right.
I've been online. I know what you're talking about.
Have you seen that internet thing?
Oh, yeah.
It's
No, I
wild,
got
isn't
it. I don't know how to, I don't remember my password, but
Yeah. Did you download the whole thing?
this is Swedenborg talking about how evil originated in the first place. I mean, we're getting right into it. This is from True Christianity. In the Saturnian or Golden Age,
Okay. Ooh.
alluded
going
to
back.
in many cultures.
In
throughout the
classical
Yeah.
mythology and so on. That's right.
People knew and acknowledged that they were forms for receiving life from God. As a result, wisdom was engraved on their souls and hearts. They saw what was true in the light of truth. Truths also allowed them to identify a good course of action by the sense of love and delight they felt in taking it.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, so if you could tell, I'm having an idea. Oh, I think it's a good idea because it's full of love. They will like that. They'll enjoy it.
Look at what he's... first
would
of
be
all,
helpful.
I want that. I would like that.
Yes.
I want that more than the 2025 or whenever you're watching this. I want that. I want that. And look what he said is I'm sure this is not the only defining characteristic, but this is the only one he mentions here. People knew and acknowledged that they were forms for receiving life from God.
Yeah.
To not understand...
To think about what we are as human beings. What is what is this thing that I am? And to think, oh, you're a vessel for receiving life from God.
It's a little...
That's a different definition than, well, you're just an autonomous human being in your own right, making your way through the world and trying to compete with all these other humans to get what you need and want.
It is a strange, or not strange, but a little bit unexpected as the fundamental split for human nature is when we lost sight of the truth that life comes from God rather than originates in us. You had mentioned the Garden of Eden and the eating of that fruit, and we've talked about that on this show, how that was the time in which people started to believe in separateness, that they were not that we lived on our own. We live on our own, which that seems kind of benign, but I think it's only like when that grows and becomes more grotesque and multi-headed and like Cerberus, the dog that guards the afterlife, that's when if you believe that those people out there first of all, aren't really connected with you. Second of all, aren't even like you in that they don't feel the same way you do. Third of all, that they don't even really matter. Fourth of all, that they're barely even real compared to my whole focus is myself. That is what opens the door for atrocity of all kinds, because first of all, you become indifferent to their suffering. But also then you're susceptible to, as soon as some impulse from hell wafts up to you that is a way you can, I'm going to steal that person's credit card or something, and I would enjoy that and benefit from it. You can't help but go with that because you don't care or understand that they are like you anymore. That they are someone, that you are not the center of the universe. Yeah. That I can see how that opens the door to that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's right. It doesn't sound like, oh, that was the danger. You know this old saying from other cultures that's the camel's nose under the tent. The idea is that if you ever see the camel's nose under the tent, the rest of the camel is coming in. And so it's like the thin edge of the wedge or something. But so this doesn't, if you don't know that that's a camel, you might think, oh, interesting, I just see that down there. No, disaster is about to happen here.
In the ages that followed, however, the human race stepped back from acknowledging that all the truth of wisdom and all the goodness of love within them was flowing in continually from God. As a result, they stopped being dwelling places for God. Their speaking with God and their association with angels came to an end because the inner parts of their mind turned from the direction in which they had been facing.
Wow, so he sort of undersold that a little bit before. but actually the condition they were in is that they're, what did it say? They're having some kind of interaction with God and with angels, right?
Speaking with God and their association with angels.
Speaking with God and associating with angels, yeah. And so what I picture is that you have a house, and God and angels are living in your house, and then you sort of get to the point of like, well, I want to live there, and so kick all them out. It'll be just as good. What's the difference? I'll be in there, and I'll run myself. I'll run my own life. I'll do a great job. But that's the whole thing goes downhill after that, because you're not getting that kind of guidance. It's almost like that there was that show, I think it was called See, was it, where almost everybody's blind, in the entire culture. There's just a couple of them that can see, and some of them hide the fact that they can see. But it's like the blinding of the whole human race at that point. There's no connection to that guidance from heaven anymore. No conversation with God.
And as we sit here with this confusing text of the Bible in front of us that we talked about before, how did it get to be like this, where God sort of hides his face and only appears in a book that you can choose to believe it or not believe it, or does it really pop out against the other books on your shelf?
Pretty plausibly deniable.
It didn't used to be like that. It used to be that you got direct communication with God. You talked to angels in the afterlife. You knew that there was heaven and hell. You knew that there was a spiritual reality to this. What we're dealing with now is we've majorly degraded the quality of the system. There's still like amazing power and truth in the word, but if you're frustrated as to why would God be this cryptic and why does it seem to be this remote, this is not according to the original plan. This is God having to work with the human race's choices problem.
Yes, and not just individually, but over time that became an entire culture. The whole way that we live now is so different than the way that people lived in the past, that the whole thing kind of slid downhill.
He goes on, their minds had been turned upward by God toward God, but now they bent down more and more in another direction, outward toward the world. At that stage, they were turned by God toward God, but through the world. Later, their minds turned upside down to face in the opposite direction, downward toward themselves. Because people cannot see God when they are inwardly upside down and turned away, they separated themselves from God and became forms of hell or forms of the devil.
And I just got a flash in my mind a moment ago that if you had that presence of the Lord, if you have a living conversation with God, some people do, and if angels, you're associated with angels, and then you read scripture and it says God is angry, you go, no, it might seem that way if you're evil, but no, of course not.
Well,
can you see?
You would see what that means. You would see the parable in that. I was just doing this, so I've been reading through this for this show, and then this morning I was reading Isaiah, and it was talking about the grass and God can cut it down and do that, and I was like, oh, so this is talking about the consequences of evil in you. Like this is what will happen. Like, again, I think the laws metaphor is a great. It's really hits the nail on the head, because you can read something that says like, the police department will arrest you and they will handcuff you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the thing that does that is the actions you took that were against that law. So all this stuff about this is what God's going to do to you. God just says, don't kill, don't murder, don't steal. And then when you do that stuff, the evil brings its own punishment on itself. Then you start to read the Bible. So I think a person who is in touch with the truth in heaven would see the Bible and they would recognize instantly, oh yeah, I'm not going to blame God for the harm that's caused. This is talking about what evil does. And you would have maybe a greater conviction about the importance of those passages because they're describing why you don't want to get tangled up in evil.
And as you look at the Bible, as I've read it with Swedenborg's point of view in mind, you can actually see that as long as the people are good, the Lord is smiling and connected with them and things are good. It's when they turn away that he suddenly becomes a monster, you know?
Right.
It always starts in that better position, and then it goes downhill, and then there's a renewal of some kind, then it goes downhill. But actually, it's very faithful to that idea. And Swedenborg says that evil and falsity are connected with each other. This is a concept that can take a while to wrap your head around. But falsity means these things that are not true. And one of the big non-truths that evil wants to be married to, wants to be connected with, is it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm the way that I am. That's your fault. You did that, you know? And that's built into evil, you know?
I wasn't this way when we started the podcast. You've driven me
to this horrible situation. Yeah. So it's built in. So Swedenborg even says when evil spirits in the world of spirits is between heaven and hell, this is getting very weird, but when they smell some evil that they love, they dive down into hell to get to that. But they love to make it look like, oh, God is throwing them down. Oh, I can't help it. Oh, I have to go into that horrible cesspit, you know?
Yeah.
It's just built in. Like, who wants to stand up and say, look, I just love evil, I enjoy it, and it's my own choice? You know, that would be sort of a rational approach. No, it's always somebody else's fault.
Somebody else's fault. That's great. And you know how infuriating it is when there is somebody who it is their fault. I mean, that's your assessment.
Yes.
And they won't take responsibility for it.
And they will not, absolutely, like a character disorder, you know, just absolutely like a personality defect. Well, I reject all blame. Yeah. I'm like Teflon. You can't get it to stick to me. You know?
It's like, this is the fourth time that this has happened at work with 4 different coworkers.
I know.
Or this is my 10th divorce, and like all these terrible people.
And every single one of those spouses,
so,
you know, can you believe they were all bad?
So, that you might think, oh, what God is trying to do then is get me to feel like, you're right, I'm terrible, I'm the problem. But that's not actually what guilt and humiliation is not an end goal of God either, because that again would be evil. If you just want somebody to feel miserable and feel guilty and feel the weight of that realization crush them, that's the same as hurting them any other way. If that was the goal, it'd be the same as God wanted to torture people in hell. But what God actually wants is the first step of the 12 steps. Well, I don't know this, but it's, I have a problem.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm the problem. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. That's Taylor Swift.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what we're trying to get to. Why do people that love you, when you have some kind of problem, let's just stay in the 12-step world, they want you to get to that point. And sometimes they're like desperate and praying for you to get to that point. Why? Because they're mean to you? Because they want to hurt you and they're your enemy, and it's because that's when we can start to get you out of there.
There's another whole theme in the Bible that it can be confusing too, but it's that God will cast down the proud, but lift up the humble. And you can see this over and over again, where when the people are feeling sort of humble or not so great about themselves, he says, "You're the light of the world." Build them up. But when they're arrogant and full of themselves and all sort of critiquing him, even to Peter, Jesus says, "Get behind me, Satan. You don't understand what we're doing here." And so it's for our good. trying to tear down that. So the point is not to take it. Doesn't it say a broken and a contrite heart? Oh God, thou will not despise, or a bruised reed you will not break. The Lord is very careful not to crush us. Mm-hmm. But there is a kind of pride that gets in the way of this beautiful thing that can happen. The whole heaven project that's based on humility and realizing you're a vessel, as those ancient people did.
That's why he said we can't give that to him now. It'll go to his head.
Right.
Whereas if there's somebody who's humble, let's heap honors on this person, because it won't harm them and it won't harm the rest of us.
That's right.